Morning guys. So, maybe this time it's 117. This last video is pretty long. It's the longest one I think I've made apart from some of the car shows. It's like 107 minutes, so it was getting a bit excessive, but I just try to cram everything that I had from yesterday into one, because sort of the midday sort of stuff on. I was thinking, oh wow, sort of the early morning stuff. By the time that I edited from the stuff from day before, it was about 30 odd minutes long. And I thought I'd just see if I can get the rest into it, you know what I mean? And I sort of managed to cram it in. I didn't want it to be quite so long, but there was sort of some relevant, well, I wouldn't say it's relevant, but there was some stuff in there that I wanted to say and try and keep in the video. But anyway, so this morning I'm going to carry on obviously seeing the one that I did in the last video, and then I'll get on to its mate. But anyway, I bought the other one over here mainly because I just wanted to have a good look at this, because this has got no body fill or any other products on it except a bit of etch. I just wanted to have a decent look at these body lines in here, just to, because it's very easy to, when you're putting body filler on or anything like that, it's very easy to lose what the line looks like, especially if you had started mudding both. And you get in there and you think, shit, what did that line really look like? How crisp was it? How sharp was it? Before you started putting body filler in there and trying to smooth out any imperfections from damage over the years and all that sort of thing. Now, if you've got a really good, clean, sharp feeler that hasn't got a lot of damage on it, you might have just the odd little mark in it. You know, you might just get away with a little skim of body filler in it. People high build and block it back, and you're good. You know, you don't really lose your definition in your lines. But I just wanted to have a good look just to see what the shape of this was in the places where it hadn't been really damaged. Because in here it's quite good on this video, like it's never really been hammered about or anything. So I just wanted to have a good look to remind myself of what these lines look like before I mud this one up and then lose it. You know what I mean? So I can come in here and try and get these to look as close as I can to what this does, and basically bare steel, if you know what I mean. Like this has only got a couple of light coats of etch on there, or basically a thickish coat of etch. So there's no real material in there to disturb what the line looks like, if you know what I mean. So I'm just trying to remind myself how clean and crisp those lines are without. So I want to block this back one more time. I don't lose what I should be seeing, if you know what I mean. So I can see that I actually need to try and sand this line and harder and crisper and squarer to achieve what this looks like. So what I'm going to do, I'll bring the phone over here and I'll show you. Right, so what I'm trying to say is, you got this nice crisp edge, and then it sort of jumps. So it's coming along like that, and then it pops up and then goes over. It's sort of hard to tell, but if I get down really low, you can kind of see that, you know, it comes along, and then it's not just a line it sort of pops up a little bit and then comes over. It's got that little, it's got like a little, almost like a little edge, like it's got a little, like another little line here, just up a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's what I need to try, now that I've got body filler on here, try to bring that line as much as I can, bring that back in, so I don't lose that, if you know what I mean. Because that's one thing you do see on a lot of cars, you know, that have had a lot of body work done, because, you know, the valves have been been beaten around a lot. You know, they lose that real sharpness in the body lines, and that's something that I've over the years done. You know, like you sort of look at that car and you think, oh, you know, it's had a lot of body work done. You know, it's lost its real crisp lines. Well, that's what I'm trying to not do on this. So what I'm going to do is with one of those acrylic blocks, lucky blocks, whatever you want to call them, this lucky block style of block. I'm going to try and sand and get a bit more of a crisper edge in here, so hopefully it looks a bit more like this when it's done, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then obviously I might put a little bit extra. I might not have to, but I've got to be careful because there's, where the damage is, you know, some of this metal that's sticking a little bit proud. So I've got to try and do it as well as I can, but you know what I mean. And hopefully with a bit of high build on there, that'll give us a bit more of an opportunity to bring that line back in as best we can. So I just brought this over mainly for reference, just to refresh myself what it looks like. And this side is a bit sharper than this side. This is a more of a, and it's a little bit like that, but it's not quite so pronounced as it is here. For some reason, I don't know, it's just the way it is. I was actually watching Hombre Garage, because he's got that 25, he's actually just thrown up another video of it. He's got a 25 Studebaker truck that was an old fire engine or an old ambulance, or might have been hearse, sorry, and then turned into a fire engine way back in the day. And let's see, it's actually got a double, because it's a, what they called it would have been a big six, I think. It's actually got like a double lip like this, and then the, like, you know, so it's like comes down here, and that's got a, like the extra roll back down then again. So obviously they're quite a bit wider fender, quite a bit bigger. So they put a double one of these in. That would be a real mungle to work on. So he just got that going. Actually, he was playing around with the carburetor on it, because when he bought the thing, the carburetor's quite damaged. So that's one thing I've got to go back through shortly when we get this motor back together. Let's get the carburetor back sorted back together and get it running properly. But anyway, I'm going to hook into this, see if I can get this line a bit crisper, and block the rest of this out, and then yeah, attack this one. And then hopefully with high build we can keep sharpening that line up the best we can, you know, so it looks like this. Anyway, I'll get on with it. Righty, okay. Just sit up for a minute. Would I buy this again? No, because it's even building up in the 3M paper. I'm actually having a prick of a job keeping the paper clean. But you just see me put that on there. You know, I'll probably sand with it for a couple of minutes. But that body filler is just clogging up. The other stuff didn't fill up like that. The Rage Ultra, the Evercoat Rage Ultra, from what I remember, didn't fill the paper up. Like even where I'm sanding over stuff that's already had the top knocked off it, you know, that sort of that top layer after you put it on. I noticed it even yesterday. I'm having a pretty good job keeping even, you know, like, you can see where it's building up in it. And I thought it might have been just this paper, so that's why I grabbed a sheet of 3M that I've got over there and just put it on this Durablock to see, because 3M is normally pretty good. It will normally resist clogging up, but so I thought maybe it might have been this paper, but it seemed to, I used a little bit of that paper on the last of this. I didn't really have a problem, but I'm having that problem with this. I got 2 cans of it to use, so I'm going to use it. But for the next lot of vehicles that I do, I'm staying away from this Z Grip Plus. And it says non-clog lightweight. So yeah, sorry Nevercoat, but it ain't non-clog. I'm trying to remember with the Rage Gold, I don't think I had that problem either. I'm pretty sure, and I was using 3M paper in Australia. I'm pretty sure I was using 3M, because Norton and all those sorts of things, I just hate it because it does that bad. But yeah, this stuff here, it didn't matter what I used, it blocked it. It's blocking up, and this is the good, well, from memory, this is the good 3M that, you know, doesn't fill up like that. But yeah, this I'm pretty sure wasn't filling the paper like that. You know, because wasn't having to. I'm pretty sure when I did the whole back of that body, even with the DA and stuff, and then this paper on that orange block on this, before I had the opportunity to put this other paper on the long block, I wasn't having that problem. I'm bloody sure of it. So yeah, would I recommend this? No. It goes on alright and all that sort of stuff. It seems to sand off okay, but it's not hard to sand off, but when you're clogging your paper all the time, that's a pain, because then you're not getting efficient sanding. You know, you're having to stop and clear your paper all the time, or try and clear your paper. Like you only see me put that on there a wee while ago, and I try to sand it, and it's filled up all the edges already, and it's a shit of stuff to get off. I'm pretty sure I've got enough hardener in there, because it was going off as I was putting it on, you know. So I don't think that's a problem. So yeah, I won't get that again. I'll either try and get the Rage Gold or the Rage Ultra. Yeah, I'd stay away from this Z Grip Plus. I don't even think the Z Grip was that bad when I was using it on Dad's Jag. I want to get the opportunity to go back and do a bit more body work on that Jag, maybe in the next few weeks, depending on obviously how quick I can get this sort of done. You know, maybe on the odd Saturday or Sunday or something like that, I'll go down there and do a few hours to try and get a bit further. I'll do a comparison, but I'm pretty sure we weren't having that problem with that either. So that's annoying. It's sort of annoying. Like, I hate having to try and clear paper all the time. It's a pain. Anyway, I'll carry on. I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. Alrighty, I hope you can see what I was trying to do there. I'm just trying to see whether I was trying to get this tape on there fairly straight to see where I need to try and either put a little bit more body full of glazing putty or something like that. So here, I think I've got that line pretty straight, sort of between here and down here somewhere. So I think I need a bit more, just a wee bit more filler in here, just to bring this up a little bit, so I can get a bit more of a definite line in here. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And the front here, from about, just slightly over the crown to, I don't know, about 8 or 10 inches down here, the line wanders away again, a bit like this one. The rest of it doesn't look too bad. I'll get it with time. It's a shit of a thing, because it's just, I'm not used to trying chasing a line over a curve like this, on a straight line on a panel. It's not quite so difficult, because you can run a long block along it and you can get it pretty reasonable. But when you're trying to chase a straight line over a curved panel that's curved in several different directions, it makes it very awkward. But I just thought a little bit of tape on there might be enough for me. And I might mix up a bit of glazing putty instead of body filler, and just try and smear it into where this tape is, and then pull the tape off before it sets to the type thing, and just do where I think it needs to be, and then hopefully get it a bit closer and I'll fill up some of these other marks. I'll do the same on this other side. I'm not too worried about this side of it, because I think I'll get what I need to get at it with high build and stuff, but I need to try and get that line right, and obviously see whether this line here is creeping that way too, if you know what I mean. I think I've got it pretty good along here. It's more in than out, you know what I mean. But it's just where the panel's been damaged and it's sort of flattened off a bit much, and it's sort of lost its line's a bit low. Sort of, you've got to build it back up to find it. Because I could sort of see when I was standing from the front, it looked like the line was going like this. It's exaggerated, but it was sort of coming along and drifting and then coming back out again. And I could see it down here too. From back here to here. So I might be marker just so I know where I want to fill from. Put a tape up there. Right, I'm just going to mix up some rapid glaze and pop it on, and hopefully I've got enough to maybe do some of the other marks and stuff in it. See how we get on. And then once I've got this on, I might call it a day, I think. See how we get on. It is Sunday. I do want to spend some time at home. well, once this goes off, I'll come back here and sand it Monday, tomorrow, back off and whatever. But I think that should fix my line issues. I think it should work quite well, hopefully. And by the time I just blend that back in, it should fix more problems, I hope. That's cool. Just put a little bit extra in some of the marks and pinholes and whatever. And that should be good enough to at least put high board on and then go from there, I suppose. We could always put a bit more glazing put in, or even more filler in if it really desperately needs it somewhere along the line, but I think that'll do for that one once we knock that off, the tops off it. That's cool. Righty, we'll catch you tomorrow. Good morning, guys. So welcome back again. So I'm part way through video 117 on the Studebaker. Now I had a comment from I think it was Lewis Martin. I'll just double check that. Hold on. So explain the vehicle, right, and how the sort of condition it was in. So this one here, and the other one that's been up in it's now up in the mezzanine or rafters, whatever you might call it, and there's several other bits of other vehicles. There's probably sort of 2.5, 3 plus extra stuff of these Studebakers here. So this was new in 24. Okay, I'm guessing, so maybe in the early mid 40s or something like that, it was turned into a farm vehicle. This is the life of this particular vehicle. It was used as a farm vehicle. And it probably, I'm guessing it might have been used up to, so maybe the early 60s or something like that, possibly. And it was pretty hammered. Basically, they cut the back off the body, got rid of the back part. You know, that's been replaced and repaired on this. And they put like a wooden deck on it, and it was used for years as a farm vehicle. By who, I don't know, somewhere. I don't know the full story. But anyway, from what I understand, when they got it, several years ago, maybe in the mid-90s or something like that, when the owner bought it with that other one, plus all the other bits. They bought the whole lot, you know, the sort of 3 and a bit, 4 sort of parts of vehicles. There's lots of things, there's multiples of, you know, there's several radios and lots of stuff. But anyway, this vehicle had been hit in the front, the left front. The whole thing was twisted and bent. So you can imagine what that fender looked like. That's the original fender off it. So is that one. That one was bent too. From what I understand, it was, you know, it was heavily beaten up. So at some point, when they first started working on this vehicle, they straightened the chassis, they straightened the front axle, all those sorts of things. Like, it was obviously heated and treated and whatever, done properly, straightened. Like the front springs and all sorts of stuff, the rear springs are all redone, reset, whatever. You know, I'm talking 10 to 15 years ago, early 2000s. The body was starting being repaired. They found another back of another body, put it on there, repaired, took the rot out of it. They made those. No, they were done repairs. They made those back doors, all those sorts of things, you know. I remade the front door, but anyway, these were badly bent, beaten, twisted, broken, cracked, split, you name it. Because I know when I first started working on them, they were in reasonable shape, but they still weren't in very good shape, if you know what I mean. There were lots of flat spots and still twisted and tweaked and whatever. So I went through it and I hammered it and ground off, you know, a bit of the extra weld that was and underneath there where it had been bent and twisted. Like, it was all bent and twisted through here, it's broken. You can still feel the marks underneath, where it was bent and twisted through here, you know, cracked, whatever. So it's been repaired. And I spent, you know, a few days beating these out, better, straighter, getting to line up, getting to sit square in the chassis, all those sorts of things. So But anyway, he's saying that, I've used way too much body puller. That's probably right. I'm probably going to use 3 cans at least on this thing. It's just the nature of the beast. It's a 100-year-old vehicle. None of it's terribly straight from what it could have been or should have been. No, it's not one of these vehicles. It's not a real survivor that's still driving around with 50,000 miles on it, like the one in Queenstown. You'd probably get that, strip the paint off it if you were to repaint it, and you wouldn't have to do bugger all to it. There might be the odd mark you'd have to blend out. You'd blow a few coats of high bolt on it and be done with it. Like I could have put high build on there, but the 3 cans of high build, or 3 cans of body filler, say about $70 each. So it's a couple of $100, 140, yeah, a couple $100 thereabouts, give or take, product put on it. If you'd sprayed high build on there, you would need, like I know the high build, we got 2 gallons over there, or got over 2 gallons of high build. That was in excess of $1,000. So to get that product on here, to get to this point, you'd be probably another $1,000. Whereas you take a couple of $100 for a body filler, or it's or $1,000 of high build. It's an extra you probably would have needed for the body. Or he was saying like spray putty or something like that. I don't know what spray putty's worth. I've never used it. I've just learnt what I've learnt from my father. He restored vehicles for a truck museum from the late 90s up until the mid 2000s, when he retired. He's still doing it. He's been doing it all life since before I was a kid. He was restoring old vehicles, bikes, cars, whatever, with his brother, and he's been doing it all his life. Helped other people restore vehicles, build motors. He's been a motor mechanic since he was 14. I've just learnt what I've learnt through doing it with him. All my early cars, my very first car, which was an Austin minivan, a little front-wheel drive, tiny little thing, 1000cc British, 1976 Austin minivan. That was rusty. The motor was good in it. The transmission was good in it because it had been done up at some point. But the body was rotten. We'd replaced seals, floors, whatever. Fixed it up, drove it around. Unfortunately, I crashed it. But anyway, and then the next vehicle, I did all the body work on that. The motor was blown up. We rebuilt it. The next vehicle after that I made money on that one, I bought an early 80s imported Corolla coupe thing from that had been imported from Japan. That was rotten and rusty. We had a blown up motor, and I put another motor in it, fixed the rust, did the body work, painted it. Then I bought in the early 2000s Corolla, or early 90s Corolla. At the time it was when it was about 97, so it was only a couple, 3 or 4 years old. It had been rolled, fixed that, straightened that. I've learnt what I've learnt and done what I've done. This is how I've always done it. I could use spray putty, but what's that worth too, Again, you're going to need the same amount of product and thickness to get to the same result. I don't have a planishing hammer. I don't have extra help here. It is what it is. It takes what it takes. You're still going to have to put, if I had a planishing hammer, and I had an extra help here, we could have spent, but I haven't used a planishing hammer either, but I would have learnt. I could have maybe got them straighter and smoother. I've got them pretty good. Close. We're talking, within, 16th to or 32nd to a 16th to probably maybe an 1/8 of an inch within the true shape of where they should be, and I'm talking up and down. I've got the widths pretty much right. I've beat all these straight because they were all out of shape. It was flat and clear, and I re-straightened all those edges and got them to, so at least they were a similar curve. I used the profile gauge, found a spot where it hadn't been bent and twisted, and used that around there and beat them within you know, as much as I could to get them really, really close. So I knew when I put body fill on there, it was going to be bugger all or some sort of product to build it up and get it smoothed out. It is what it is. It's going to take the same amount of product, whether it's body filler, high build, spray putty, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. You know, and it's, do I spend 200, you know, 200, 250 bucks with a body filler, or do I spend $1,000 on high build primer, or whatever spray putty costs? You know, I don't know what that costs. Sort of type thing, you know, it's going to cost somewhere between a couple of $100 to $1,000 to get to the same result before I put, you know, 2 gallons of high build on the whole body, you know, and all the other bits and pieces that need to be done. Wheels, the trims for the tops of the car, all those sorts of things are going to be painted, high build, primed, whatever, you know. So, you know, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It is what it is. That's what it's taken to get this 100-year-old vehicle, or almost 100-year-old vehicle, back from the dead. That's been through hell. You know, what do? You know, the place we are in the world, New Zealand, you know, there's not 100 of these things sitting in the paddock, you know, at a wrecking yard that's been there 100 years, you know. I know they're probably not like that in the States either, but, you know, I don't know how many Studebakers in 1925 were built, but I bet you the majority of them are in the States and Canada. You know, and then there's the rest were spread out through the world. You know, we might have got, I don't know, say a couple of thousand here at the time, or, you know, 1,000 or even less than that, whereas there might have been, you know, 30, 40, 50,000 of them in America. So like the parks aren't here, like it's not, we haven't got a choice of going down the road, you know, and finding better stuff. You know, there's a few of these on the road here. You got to pick and choose what you get. It's either that or you're going to make a whole new one. You know, that's what we do here. It is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to carry on. Well, that sucks. I just went to touch this to see, you know, see what it was like. And I was obviously going to mix it up, but it's only like 2% hardener in this stuff. And obviously I didn't put enough in there. I mixed it up on Sunday. It sucks. So now I scrap this shit off. Righty, I've cleaned that mess off. I probably could have left it and waited for it to see if it would go off, but I don't know. It might have taken, you know, a couple of days type sort of thing. And I sort of want to get this one completed and out of the road. So I'll retape my lines and re-smear it, obviously make sure I put a bit more bloody hardener in it this time. I think what I did is because I'd mixed up quite a, you know, normally you might be only mixing like a little puddle like that, whereas I actually mixed quite a big puddle. And I probably only put enough for the little puddle because I'm just used to sort of just squeezing out a bit of a dollop, you know, a bit of a dot. You know what I mean. Whereas I probably should have put quite a bit of hardener there, but you know. Because it is only like 2% basically, they just say on the packet. It just says 2% hard, and I've got a freaking bit of tape on the bottom because the bag freaking burst the other day. But basically, think further down on the thing, basically just, or it might have been on the line, basically it's just, if you put a puddle there, just put like a little dot beside it. So yeah, I probably just didn't have a big enough dot, but that's all good. I'll just make sure I mix it a bit more this time, and I'll reapply where I need to. I might just do the pieces where I want to try and straighten these lines up and leave the rest till high build. I'm fairly happy with most of it. I might just put it, just down in here and down in there, and into a couple of little spots that I needed to do, and not panic about the rest. And we'll wait till we get it in high build, and then we can see what it looks like once it's actually one colour and got a little bit of a sheen on it, with a decent amount of product on. So yeah, it is what it is. Like, as you can see, like in a lot of places the steel is coming through, so there's not there is a bit of product on there, but it's still sticking. There's no real places that it's horrendously thick. There's the odd spot, but it was where it was heavily damaged, but it's still, that's still trying to hold on there, if you know what I mean. Like, it's only a little magnet, but it is what it is. But it's not as though it's just running off. It's trying to drag, so it's only a little magnet. Like, that will stand up there, but it's not horrendously thick or anything. You can see that there's grey in lots of places, where I'm coming close to steel, But there's shitloads. Oh, you can't really see, but I'll put this back up here. Try and show you what it's like underneath here, like even on top. Like, you look at this where it's all banged up and beaten and creased and dinted, and a lot of it's not too bad, but you gotta look at this sort of stuff out. It's all pushed out and beat. Like, I've tried to beat that back in, but where it's all broken and bent. So I've got to try and put a little bit of mud on there to try and hide the worst of that, if you know what I mean. There's a big line across here, and again, I think there was a big line through here where they had a big massive crease in it, and some of it's not bad, but some of it's had a hell of a hiding. It's quite beaten back here, and it's replaced steel, and I mightn't have to put it too thick through here, but from sort of here on, it's had a bit of a hiding. You can see even here where it's all been broken and cracked and welded, and so it needs body filler. Yeah, bro, this is what this this putty was like. So it hasn't even tried to go off. Still, like it would be if it was sort of half going off as you and you're putting it on. That's after 20 hours. Right, so I didn't put it anywhere near as much on this time. I mainly just done this side of it. I think I'll just leave this side until I've got high build on it. I know there's a couple of spots weren't right, whereas this side's not quite so easy to tell because that line's more prominent on the outside than it is on the inside. So yeah, I've got a little bit of mud, a little bit of extra mud in here, and whatever I had left, I just scraped in a few little holes, and I put a little bit on here because it was quite sharp, just to maybe blend it in a little bit better, and just filled that little hole where it needed it. Not really, you know what I mean, but just the odd worst mark. I could have put it in other places, but I should be right. So I think what I'll do is I'll unscrew this off here, because this will go off pretty quick anyway. So I'll probably just unscrew this off here, sit to the side, get the other fender up here, around the other way, and start at least putting a coat of body filler on this piece, and then I'll work on the rest of it, you know what I mean, like I did this one, and just try and get it to this stage again. Oh, that's good. Went off this time, you know, and that's probably 20 minutes tops. So yeah, this stuff's meant to go off in, you know, sort of 8 to 10 minutes at a type sort of thing, 6 to 10 minutes. So yeah, I just, the other day when I mixed up a reasonable batch, I must have just put obviously the little dot that I put in there just was nowhere near enough, because I probably got a bit hungry and made up a bit much, because I spread it, you know, around quite a few places, where I just decided this time that I'll just leave it and we'll knock that off, and we'll just build it up with some high build and see how we get on, and then put some glazing putty in if we need it from after that, if you know what I mean. Except those places where I knew it was, the shape just wasn't quite right. So anyway, I've got a skim on here. I've sort of left this piece because this piece wasn't really, it hasn't really, from about here to about here, this has had some repairs and had a little bit of damage from about here to probably around about here. It didn't really have any damage, and this hasn't had any damage in it. It's got a little bit of a dent in there. I might have to put a little bit in there, but the rest of it, yeah, it was quite sort of beaten up. So I've decided to not sort of spread any through here. I could have, because it's got a lot of I don't know if you can see that, it's quite pitted just from age, but yeah, it'll come out with high build. But we'll block this off, see what it's like, you know, and do another skim if it needs it, and I'll just leave this piece alone and just see what happens. And then, you know, you can see, because I've given this a scuff up, I don't know if you can see that or not, hopefully you can see where it's like knocked, you know, the sort of the shiny, some of it, well, I haven't scuffed it real hard, but you can see it's all the little patches here. Now, well, it's not rough, but it's enough to, you know, warrant putting a full skim of body filler on it. You know, probably back to, again, probably here-ish. It probably doesn't need it because it's more pitting, but then you get back to about here again, where there's a bit of damage and it's had some repairs. But all along this edge, well, this piece here is not too bad, but you know, from here on, this side's pretty beaten up, and the back here is pretty beaten up. And again, it's probably not quite so bad just here, but the rest of it's had a fairly hard time, especially here. You know, whereas this was all bent and creased. You know, it was creased right through here. So yeah, like you can see how much work I've done to even try and get it back to where it is now. It's, but it is what it is. You can see it there in the light. You know, how rough it is. You know, it's not horrendous, but you know, a skim on there is not going to hurt. You know, and then block it out, and at least then, even if it doesn't look that bad, you know, you rub the block over it, you know, you can have a lot of highs and lows in it, because it's not going to be perfectly round. Whereas, you know, a little, you know, a 16th or a 32nd of body filler across the whole thing is not going to hurt anything. So it might even be a little bit high here still, but you know, you got to stop at some point and skim across there and blocking it back with those what do you want to call it, acrylic blocks, you know, the Lucky style blocks, because that's what I know them as, you know, and that will come up pretty nice. This fender's probably not as bad as the other one was, to be honest, but you know, it still needs the majority of it still needs a skim. You know, I could probably miss that piece, but in some ways you're better off to just scrape a bit across it, and then when you block the rest out, you know, hopefully everything all blends in and you know, be done with it. But yeah, and then pour some high build on, and it just gives you a bit more material to block down to until you start touching steel. And then, you know, when you do your last couple of coats, at least then when you're blocking out with like 400 or whatever, you know, you're taking very little off, and you shouldn't come back through to steel anywhere, you know, and you should have it almost perfect. So anyway, carry on. Alrighty, so I'll have to have a look back through my videos. I'm not quite sure where I was up to last time. So I mudded the centre pretty much. It needs a little bit more in places. Possibly a little bit more down here. I've got a little bit more sanding down there, but it needs a little bit more in places. As you can see, I've knocked some of this down a little bit with the hammer. You know, just use that end and that end just to tap it down a little bit. So I might just need another swipe. Needs a bit more through here. I'll probably blend it out through here. This isn't too bad through this section of it. This fender is definitely, or mudguard is definitely straighter than the other one. How much so, I don't really know. There's actually a high spot in here which I might actually hammer down, then spread a little bit of filler in here at some point between doing this. I might need possibly a little bit on here. Again, probably just get it with glazing putty. I need more in here to get this right, and probably just blend it back a little bit further just to get it to flow. But it's not too bad this side, which is quite good. I think once we do a few more bits, I'll probably even get it with glazing putty or something, like the worst of it, and just mud this edge. Because of the sort of the damage that's in here, it's very hard to keep this join line. I might, when I come back to sand it properly, now with the high build, I may get something really skinny with some fine paper, maybe start with some 240 or something like that, even on a like on a credit card or even one of those spatulas, and try and just sand into here and try and get a wee bit of a line in there, so it still looks like it's got a bit of a join in there. I can imagine even back in the day when it like had a few layers of paint on it, that joint's going to be visible, but it would sort of blend itself in a little bit. But I'll try and bring it back on both if I can, yeah, by rubbing something back in there, just so it's got a remnants of that line in there, if you know what I mean. But because it's so badly damaged and stuff like that, it's very hard to try and keep it without doing, you know, major sort of stuff. But, you know, it'll be good. It is on the inside, so it's not, it is somewhere you're going to see, but it's, you know, if you're standing from the outside of the vehicle, you're not looking hard in there. It's somebody that's going to have a really hard study is going to see it. We'll try and bring it back a little bit, as I said, just by sanding something hard in there. You know, sort of drive it in at this sort of angle and just try and sand a little bit in there at some point with something fine. I'm not quite sure what I'll do yet. Or even maybe just run a scriber or something just along there, you know, and try and dig it in at that point. Something just fine, just to bring that line back in. Either play at some point and just run something in there and see if I can pick that line back out a little bit, so it's kind of there. But anyway, that'll do. I'm running out of day. I could mix up some more mud and put it on, but I might just do it in the morning, so I'm sort of fresh with what's going on. So yeah, so this one's not quite as bad as that one. That one was quite badly beaten up. It really was. So that's cool. Like, I don't think I'm going to get a lot more off this. Like, I could probably try and block it off a little bit more with another fresh sheet of paper, but there's so many bare spots. You know, you're only going to get so much more off it. You know, it's not as though the thing is completely yellow. There's a lot of bare metal showing, even though it's in patches. But you got to try and get some sort of consistent fire, otherwise you're, you know, it's wavy, so you're trying to take the waves out of it, not leave them in there, if you know what I mean. Anyway, that's us. Now it needs a little bit more around the front, just to try and blend this in a little bit. But it's all good. We'll get her. Alright, we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe in another video I'll bang this stuff together, see how we get on. That'll be you know, tomorrow in this as well, finishing this fender off possibly. See how we get on. Right, cheers. Before I bugger off, just thinking, I just put a fresh piece of paper in there to give this another rub across the top, sort of type thing. Just give this, I'll turn the ear back on. Just see how that is holding up for, you know, what do you want to call it? Not clearing, clogging up. It's not coming real clean. It's too bad, I guess. It's not too bad. Got a real fresh piece on there. But anyway, I'm just dubious of that particular filler. I don't know, it just seems to clog up a bit easier than what I thought it would. It's normally you just better give it a decent whack on your leg or something like that, you know, and it clears, but I don't know, it doesn't seem to do that stuff. Not the same anyway. Anyway, catch you later.